just want to say a few words because I'm squeezed between Ahmed and Melanie, and Ahmed already said a lot. I want to start really by thanking ERF for giving us the space to do this kind of work. I mean, clearly the events of 2011 opened the eyes of many economists that we're missing something and we need to be more original. So we were scratching our heads for the dimensions of this originality, but I must say ERF gave us the boulevard, a huge space, and to have a regional space is something else than to be theorizing in Harvard, because you're talking with people of the region, you're working with them, and there is an anchor in reality, right? And you have a sense that of reality. So this was really just been tremendous. And I want also to thank the team that is here around the table, about 15 of us that have kind of taken on the challenge and engage in something, in kind of an original, where there has been thinking and development around the world, but where there's a strong need to find the place of the region in kind of the concert of these dialogues. So thanks for your creativity and your hard work. So today we will have the final papers of this first effort to think about, indeed what Ahmed calls the relationship between state and business, the interaction between money and politics, and I'm already proud for us that he's speaking this way. I mean, clearly this work is already shaping a little bit the discourse and allowing us to think about, to unbundle complicated issues that have to deal with the interaction of power and money and kind of moving away from the comfortable space of economists with curves that shift around and maximize without considering actually the complexity of the real world. I think economists have always assumed that politicians are interested in economic growth, and they certainly are, but they're also interested in power preservation, and sometimes the two clash, and sometimes power distorts the economy in various ways. So it's a very vast topic when you start considering these two kind of balls and how they impact each other in a dynamic way and trace a particular path. And so we in this effort, we've been much more concentrated on the relationship from politics to economics. To what extent can we see these distortions and how do they play out? And so it's a first effort, I would say. Being a first effort, it starts delineating a little bit the specificity of our region. I think it's a theme we may come back to in the last session, emerging from these papers. Is the region similar to what's happening elsewhere in the world, or is it different in this interaction between politics and economics? Because as Ahmed said, clearly the nature of political power is going to be very important in defining the type of capitalism that we end up getting. I must say, at the same time as we've been working, the rest of the world is working as well, and there is a global effort to understand these things better. And I guess a lot of the work is deconstruction, simply of the simple ideas that economists had in the 80s and 90s with kind of what I would call the triumphalist view of the Washington consensus, that belief that things will work their way out if economics delivers, that you have kind of positive feedbacks in general in the world, and that growth, jobs, middle class, inclusion will work out and will give you kind of modernization, a rising middle class, democratization, and these things will feed into each other and will get close to nirvana as time passes. Little crisis now and then, but the world is going in a certain direction. And I guess that we're not there anymore. I mean, we're in a more complicated world. There are lots of clouds from the Asian crisis and then the financial crisis that really shook the world, the reduction in trade around the world, less economic growth, the complicated effect of technological change, where increasingly employment is not the key to kind of political advancement. And so I think it's in this more messy world that this kind of reflection takes place now. So let's see what the papers give us, little snippets about pieces of the puzzle. Perhaps in the last session we can try to go to kind of a broader picture. I'm sure Melanie will help us already organize our thoughts around a broader picture. But the papers will be very specific, because what we've asked authors is indeed, as Ahmed said, to go beyond the very interesting conversation one has in a cafe or with a taxi driver. I mean, these are not easily kind of improved upon. But nevertheless, the goal is to improve on them by actually looking at numbers and metrics and magnitudes and measuring effects. So the work is quantitative. And original. I mean, each paper you will see is kind of defining its own methodologies, and so they all have strengths and weaknesses. And so I would say let's judge each paper at its own merit and try to kind of reconstruct the puzzle at the end. A few more words, as Ahmed asked, about the broader program. I mean, the broader program tries to lay the elements of a discussion of kind of the dynamic evolution of a political economy path. And that's clearly one important piece of it. The missing piece in this, the piece that was really discovered in 2011, is society, that has again been kind of out of the discussion of in the Middle East literature, the political economy literature of the previous, say, 20 years has really focused a lot on power preservation and autocratic survival, and has really not focused much on society. I guess society was talked about as the streets, the fear of the street. I mean, it appeared in that, only in that form. And so the parallel effort that we undertook with ERF is to understand society more, and in particular using opinion polls to understand how it has evolved, the different components, how they differ, the dynamics, the differences across countries in the region, the differences with the regions, and how it gets influenced by events, and it in turn influences events. And so this is kind of the third part of the triangle, and perhaps one day, if one wants to kind of put it all together, that may be part perhaps of the future effort. But you have to start laying the bricks from the beginning, and I think this, what we're going to be talking about today are some important bricks.